What's up, guys? It's JZNES back again with another video. Today we're talking about Life is Strange 2 Episode 1, um, Roads, I believe it's called. So this is all uncharted territory for me now. I think I had seen the opening to this game on like a trailer, like a demo, or somebody like was analyzing it or something. Um, So, yeah, definitely my theory from Captain Spirit is very true. Spoilers, too, by the way, for Life is Strange 2, Episode 1 there. About the little kid having the powers. And he's who saved Captain Spirit in the second episode. Or, I mean, I don't know if it's the second episode. It's the Captain Spirit episode. I don't know why I said the second episode. I don't know that yet. Could be the second episode. I don't know. Um, so, yeah. So, okay. So we start off in this game. Of course, we're with some new characters here. But the first thing, before any of that, it actually starts off asking what was your choice from the end of the previous game. Whether or not you decided to save Arcadia Bay or not. And I thought, well, I I better go with the canon ending, quote unquote, uh, of Arcadia Bay not being sacrificed because the comics go in a different direction. They go in the direction of Arcadia Bay does get sacrificed. So I assume that this is the ending that they want. Um, and it's just the canon ending. Like, it seems like the canon ending within the the game of Life is Strange 1, because there's a lot longer, it goes on for a lot longer, there's more to it than the other ending, which was kind of a problem of that game in a sense. Not that it's like a huge thing or anything, but the ending I chose was disappointing, where you save Chloe, you got all this build up, and then it's like they just kind of drive off together, and then but you're sitting there and they're all sad and whatever, and I'm kind of glad that they followed up on that in their own comics or whatever, but the ending in the game is not as satisfying as the other ending. But neither ending is truly satisfying. It's, of course, the Life is Strange's way of telling you you can never have a happy ending. Regardless of what you're choosing, there is no happy ending. So, these games are really dark in that sense. So anyway, I chose that. I read up on it a little bit. It was mostly for this cutscene later that you see where you're talking to this guy and you're like overlooking Arcadia Bay basically. And in this version, it's there and it's bustling and, you know, everything's fine. I assume if you decided the other way, it would be this wreckage or whatever. It'd be interesting to see that again. Maybe next time I play this game. So you start off. You're this kid. You're this kid, Sean. He's like a teenager. And you have a little brother named Daniel. Those are the two sort of main characters of the game there. And it starts off, you're like talking to your friend or whatever. They've got this party, and he's like gonna ask this girl out or something. So your friend, Lila, I believe her name was, and not like Lila Rossi, but yeah, that name has been tainted by fucking Miraculous Ladybug there, but not Lila Rossi. Lila, the nice girl from this game, an Asian girl. Not that's cool. I mean, she's, you know, cute or whatever, but like, I bring that up to make a point that this game actually does kind of care about racial diversity, as we'll get into here in a bit. It's actually kind of a focal point of some things that happen in the game. So it's just interesting that Sean here, and his little brother, who are of like Mexican descent, and the dad, he's friends with this Asian girl, you know, so like, okay, yeah, but from what I understand later, you know, like she tries to stand up for you, and maybe that kind of doesn't go so well for her. So is that more of another racism thing, you know, later? But we'll get into why the racism comes up in the first place here in a second. Anyway, so yeah, so you're this kid, and you're talking to her, and then she, like, sets up that this girl's gonna come to this party or whatever. So she's like, all right, so we need all this stuff. You, like, go past your neighbor who's an asshole or whatever. So she writes it on your hand, all this stuff, and it's like, oh, yeah, that's kind of a cool, clever reference. I mean, kids do that these days, but, like, she writes on your hand, and you're like, oh, that's kind of like in Life is Strange, Before the Storm, where Chloe would write on her hand and stuff. So, yeah, so you need to get, like, alcohol and weed and, like, money for that, and, a blanket, and, what else? There's, like, one other thing. I don't know, something else, too, that you had to get. So, you get to your house, and you kind of look around for all of this stuff. But before that, like, you walk in on your dad and your little brother Daniel there, like, fighting over this chocolate bar. They're like, who gets it? You get to decide. And so I took the chocolate bar, and then the little brother was pissed. And then, the dad was forgiving, but I probably should have just given it to the kid. Like, I know this isn't, like, well, we'll get into that in a bit. Never mind. So that's, like, strike one for me being an asshole kind of older brother character. But yeah, you can look around the house. There's not, like, a lot to say. One of the interesting things was that, like, you look at these DVDs and he's like, oh, we watch Lord of the Rings every year or whatever. And it's like, okay, that's kind of cool. But that actually comes up, like, later. It's very significant later in the story there. So while you're in the basement, which is also, like, next to the garage there, your dad's, like, a mechanic or whatever. He's, like, working on this car for you, as you find out later, and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. You have, like, this moment where you're talking to him, you're trying to help him find this wrench or whatever, and I failed at that. I don't know if you can find the correct wrench, but I gave him, like, 3 or 4 different ones, and he kept saying, oh, no, it's not this one, we need this one and this one, or this is the wrong size, or something like that, and I'm like, yeah, that's relatable. I'm not really a car guy either, but my dad sure knows all that stuff. But anyway, so you have this moment, and you're like, he gets out from under the car, and you're, like, talking to him, and you're like, I need money, or whatever, basically. And you actually have an option to, like, steal money from upstairs in a jar, or whatever, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that unless I absolutely have to. I'll come back later if I absolutely have to steal it. So that was kind of my mentality throughout the whole game. Sort of, which we'll get into here in a bit. And then your dad's like, what are you going to use it for? Like, be honest with me. And he seemed like a pretty chill guy. Like, he had a joke about, like, drug money on the jar, the saving jar upstairs, and he'd, like, said a couple of things about that. And so I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to be honest with this guy. He's probably pretty cool. He seems like a cool dad. And so I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to use it probably for weed and alcohol or whatever, because that's what my friend told me to buy for the party. And we're just staying at the house, and we're not going to drive or anything, so it'll be fine, right? That's what he says. And then the dad's like, all right, yeah, I get it. Because you were honest with me, I'm going to give you $40. And I'm like, oh, $40? That's pretty good. If you're not honest with him, apparently he gives you, like, $20 or something, which is, like, half of it. And at that rate, you probably could steal the rest of the money from that jar. You could steal, like, $10 out of there or something. Which I didn't do. My dad gave me $40. Why do I need 10 more? Although, it would came in handy for later. But we'll get to that. I needed, like, 60 extra cents at one point. It just didn't work out. So there's, like, a currency system in this game. Kind of weird, actually. Yeah, so you get this, you're having this conversation, you're about to leave, and I'm like, I want to give this guy a hug, you know, because, like, he's a nice dad. If I was that son, I would give my dad a hug, you know, and you don't think you're going to get the option, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's like, hey, did you think I deserve a hug? And I'm like, yes, you do, sir. So I went right there and hugged that motherfucker. Alright. Yeah, so their mom is gone. We don't really know what the fuck that's all about. Of course, you can't just have a happy, like, healthy parent dynamic in a Life is Strange game. That's impossible. The mom or the dad is always dead, or something has happened. It's never the mom, really. It's always the dad, which is strange. I guess Rachel Amber's mom is, like, gone. Or whatever. Her biological mom, but the mom who raised her is still there, and she's always a good lady. But then she's got James, who's an asshole. So it's either the dad is dead, or they're an asshole, or something, you know? Or David, you know, is like a stepdad, or, you know, it's always the men, you know? It's shitty fucking men, right? Like, that's... I don't know, maybe Life is Strange is a little biased against guys there, against dads, or something. You know, I don't know. Anyway, so you're like, yeah, and then you can go talk to your friend, or to your friend. I mean, he's kind of your friend, but he's also your brother. Is what I meant to say. You can go talk to your brother Daniel. He was really pissed about me taking the chocolate bar, so I had to like coerce him into talking to me a little bit, and he like kind of talks to me through the doorway. He's like, oh, I'm working on something, like he's gonna work on his Halloween costume or something, and the whole time, like, my character Sean is like being an asshole to Daniel. He's a typical older brother shit where he's just, you know, just giving him all the shit that he doesn't deserve. He's just a little kid, and he's very enthusiastic, and he likes his older brother, and he just wants him to accept him and listen to him and whatever. And, you know, he's a nice, enthusiastic kid, and that's all he really wants. And so, you know, I get that. I'm the younger brother in his situation. I never got that opportunity to really be the older brother and, like, grow up with a younger brother or sister or something. I mean, I do have younger siblings, but I'm not around them all the time to be that character in their life, you know? But I do have an older brother, so I know the how that goes, you know, that dynamic. And at some point you kind of get better. I mean, for us, we did anyway, you know. It wasn't so much as that. You have your ups and downs, you know. That's how it is, always. But they're family, and you come back to that at the end of the day, and it's kind of the message of the game as well. So, after you're done exploring your house and you find everything, you're talking to your friend on Skype, which, like, it's 2016, so yeah, Skype. I would think Discord had taken off by that point or something. I do want to level, like, the one fucking stupid complaint at this point. And I can see them totally going in this stupid direction, and I hope they really don't. They brought it up later, too, and then they had a conversation about it later, which was fine. But, like, there was, like, real-life references to 2016 in this game, and I'm just like, God damn it, are you fucking kidding? Get that shit out of my Life is Strange game. You guys are dating yourself so fucking hard with this shit. Like, your friend sends you a text that you can read, that you can read, like, a lot of text. It's like months worth of text. It takes forever to scroll back up. You know, whereas Life is Strange was just a couple of texts, but I guess this is more believable or whatever. But she sends you a text like, oh, that asshole's not really gonna win or whatever. Like it's very obvious who they're talking about. It's 2016, so, you know, whatever. And then later, this guy says, following with the whole racism thing, this guy says, this is why they need to build that wall. And I'm like, oh my god, keep this shit out of my Life is Strange game. Why are we talking about this in a Life is Strange game? You don't have to be so on the nose with it. We know the real world shit that was happening at the time, but goddamn, really? This is in a Life is Strange game? That just seems so odd to me. At least make a fictional version of it or something. They're just very on the nose, and I'm just like, no, don't do that. That's so bad. That's so bad. Yeah, so basically, once you're done in the house, you go outside, and you see your little... he comes in to interrupt your Skype call, or whatever, and, he's like trying to tell you about his fake blood that he made or whatever, and you're pushing him off, and you know, he's being the typical older brother teenager character, being an asshole. I didn't like that, but you know, that's how it is. We're meant to see him grow as a character throughout the rest of the game. Um, so he runs outside, and you can see him outside if you look through the window. Um, he's fighting with the neighbor character that's like, you know, the asshole or whatever from earlier. So you're like, dear friend, oh, I've got to go. So you run outside, and then um, you see them like at it. They're not fighting, but he's not giving them, he's not beating him up or anything, but he's just like, you know, kind of bullying him, standing over him, kind of thing. So you go and step in between them, and you have a choice to either confront him or ask Daniel like what's going on, kind of thing. I chose to confront him. That was probably a bad choice, considering. But at the beginning of the game, what you see, and what was like the teaser trailer for the game too, is you're from the perspective of this cop. And this is how the game starts too. And this is, I just didn't mention this because I wanted to get to that point when we got here. And he's making the rounds and whatever. And then you just kind of see him look over at this, like, once he gets to this one house, and he gets out and he's like calling in for backup or whatever. And then you see over there, like, you don't see over there. You just kind of see, like, boom, and then like the cop car and him gets like thrown aside, back the way that you're actually seeing on the fixed camera there, or like you're like within the cop car because it's like a cop cam. And so you're like, oh, well, what's that all about? Well, later on, this is what that's about, you know. The kid, like, uses his powers to, like, push everything. Whenever he gets, like, really emotional about something, his powers start to activate, kind of thing. And we'll see this later in the episode as well. And because he got the fake blood on the other guy, it looks like he actually got blood on him. And so... whenever the cop shows up, he is racist, first of all. That's important to mention because that's what the game is definitely trying to tell you. He won't listen to what the kids are saying. He totally just get down. I don't care. You're in the wrong entirely because this guy, you know, has this fake blood on him or whatever, and he's a white guy. So, you know, okay. So then the dad comes out and he's like, dude, they're good kids. Just don't worry about it. Just like, can we just hold on here a second? So reasonably, he shoots him. The fucking cop shoots him when he's trying to have, a decent conversation about his children, who, the cop is also pointing a gun at. Underage children, by the way. Yeah, the cop is also pointing a gun at. Not only is this racism, this is police brutality towards this, you know, very nice Mexican father who's now dead, which is pretty fucked up. And then everything just kind of goes from there, you know. Your little brother like passes out, so you have to like pick him up, take the backpack that you were planning for this party, and just run, and you just go. And then, yeah, and so at that point, I was just like, oh shit, like, this is where this was going. So obviously they can't go back and just plead their case because, the police are fucking corrupt in this game. And I know it's probably like a, you know, commentary on real life about how that is, but, yeah, so it's pretty fucked up. And so then now you're on the road, and that's actually right after that, that's where the title comes up, and that's where the episode, you know, title begins or whatever. So it's like, that's kind of the beginning of the episode kind of thing, you know, like, but you're on the roads. The first thing you do is like you go through this trail. You're out at this like campsite or whatever, with your little brother, and you're like running around. You're trying to, you could like play a few games with him and stuff, and you can show him different things, and that all kind of affects how he grows as a person, kind of thing, which is really interesting because the new system in the game, the choices are more meaningful in the sense that they impact the brother character, um, and especially based on whether or not you want to steal things, and that'll come into play here in a second. Um, you do have the option right at the beginning of this area where there's a car and you can see this chocolate bar, the same chocolate bar from the beginning, in there, and the kid sees it and he's like, "Oh, I really want it," but he's like, "You have to promise to get me one next time we see one or whatever." And I'm like, "Okay." Um, but you also have the option to steal it. Like you have the dialogue option to say, hey, what, like, let's just get this one or whatever. Um, I don't know how he justifies all of that, but I've tried to keep this kid as clean as possible. So I'm just like, nah, we'll move on with it. I'm just like, yeah, next time I'll get you one. So yeah, you're walking through the trails. You can play like hide and seek with them. Every time I did something like that, I would like look around and I'm just like, is he gone now? Did something sinister happen because I decided to give in to this kid or whatever? But no, he was just hiding, and that's nice. And so nothing really happens out in the forest, which is kind of odd. Um, Nothing in terms of like dangerous stuff. Like they put all these signs out about like grizzly bears and like all this stuff that like could potentially happen, and you're like scared of this the whole time. There's even like where you decide to set up camp. There's like a thing that's all scratched up, and he's like, these are definitely bear marks, but I'm not gonna tell Daniel about this. And I'm like, oh shit, bear's gonna come and like try and fucking attack him in the middle of the night or something. He's probably gonna have to use his powers. No, that never really happens. So it just kind of doesn't really go anywhere. Maybe that's for a future episode or something. I don't know. Um, to continue on with that, you look at a few different things. Like you show him these trail markers or whatever and explain to him how that's like a navigational tool that you can use. Um, you have a few different options that you can do around and stuff, just little moments that you can have together. Then you want to build a fire and you tell him, hey, go find some firewood. And he's like, I got it. Like, let's do a game. Like, whoever can find 3 logs first. And Sean just kind of decides to let him win, because he needs this. By the way, he doesn't know that the dad is dead. He doesn't really remember what happened or whatever because of his powers. So that's just that. You just kind of have to um, play along like that's happening, and you can't really just tell him outright until later. Um, so that's kind of sad, but also, that's just how it is. Um, so yeah, eventually, like I said, you get to set up camp, and depending on all of the stuff that you took, you'll have whatever it is to eat. So there was like a choice between like cookies and chips, and I had the chips. So yeah, so we ate that, and then there's also like there's a few moments where you can like sit and draw. I only did the one by the river because it just seemed like it was going to take too long, and didn't really impact anything too much. And it felt like I actually was missing moments with Daniel by doing that, so it feels more selfish to do that. I think really he needs to be more of the priority at this point, especially when we're in a dangerous forest. But anyway, there's a moment where you can sit and look out at the river with him, and that's kind of nice, and you have like a good moment there. There's a couple of moments like that which are kind of nice. So yeah, you build this fire together, and the whole time you're just kind of trying to be a good older brother, and now like a good parent, because good guardian, that is, because that's what you're doing. So if you wanted to kind of do things, I would take the cautious approach. Like he wanted to eat these berries at one point, and I'm like, yeah, that's probably a good idea, but I'm going to test them first. Obviously, I'm not just going to have him eat them first. And there is an option in the game where he gets sick from eating berries, so smart call there. I was obviously going to check them beforehand. So you just kind of have to think of that kind of stuff. How do I keep Daniel safe, and well protected and well cared for? So yeah, anyway, you can like talk to him for a bit, and I actually chose to take the alcohol from the fridge at the beginning, because the girl said we needed alcohol, so that really didn't help us much, obviously, because I can't just give that to a kid. But I guess Daniel had it there, or maybe no, Sean had it there or whatever for himself. Anyway, you decide to go to sleep. You talk for a little bit. You decide to go to sleep. You sleep there for a bit, and then he's having this nightmare about his dad or something. Like I don't know what specifically. We don't see what he's remembering or whatever. The kid, but his like he starts to toss and turn, and then Sean just kind of like wakes him up and says that, hey, you're good, like kind of thing. Just reassures him, and they go back to sleep. And then the next day, you get up and basically you go to this gas station, and so this is a whole part where now there's kind of people. The thing about this game is it's like very much more isolated than Life is Strange 1. Whereas in Life is Strange 1, there was a lot of characters to talk to and constant interactions you would be seeing again and again. But this is more of a road trip game. I had a thought while playing this. This is more of the adventure road trip sort of thing we wanted to see Chloe and Rachel go on later when they're like, oh, we're going to escape Arcadia Bay. We didn't really think we were ever going to get to see the escape from Arcadia Bay, but it kind of seemed like maybe we would until the whole like Rachel's mom thing in the third episode, so that shifted things a bit and you had to stay essentially. But this kind of feels like what that would have been like if we had gotten that adventure then. So yeah, so we're kind of we're at this gas station, right? And you can talk to this family and like beg for food or something, and I'm like, that's not gonna set a good precedent for the kid. I thought about it though. But it just seemed like that's such a we haven't stooped to that level yet, like we are running low on money, but like I did have the $30 from earlier, which I guess a little bit of that got used because they got like milkshakes or something the day before and like a burger and stuff. But it's interesting because you do have to think about what you want to spend your money on. There's like a claw machine game, and I'm like, this is rigged. I'm not spending money on this because I'm sure that's going to be a money sink. But you have to get food from within the shop, and you have the option to steal it if you go and talk to the lady and get Daniel to distract her and stuff. But also, I didn't think that would set a very good precedent. I was going to steal the chocolate bar, but she was watching me, and by the time I got around to it, I'm like, it's $1.99. I'll buy it. We'll see what happens, kind of thing. And I was reading on a thing. I just wanted to kind of see what, like, how, I think, I don't know why I was reading it, but I'm like, how are you supposed to, like, steal? There's, like a tent and stuff that you could, like, take, but it's like $70. I don't think there's any way to this point, and I certainly didn't have $70 to give to the lady, but I don't know how you would even steal that. Well, it turns out later you have an option for stealing it, but aside from that, there was like a jacket that was like $60. There was like a shirt that was like $20 or something. There's a sleeping bag that was $16. I did actually try to get that. I was gonna get that along with the food. I got mac and cheese and bread. Nothing to put on the bread because there was nothing else that you could take that was on the bread. But I got all the options I could. I got some water. I got the chocolate bar because I promised I'd get it for him next time. Man of my word. So, and then I grabbed the sleeping bag. Well, it turns out the total was like 60 cents more than the $30 and like 30 cents I had or whatever. And I'm like, God damn it. Really? So I put back the sleeping bag. I'm just like, well, we need food and I don't want this kid to be undernourished. So that stuff's going to last us longer than like the sleeping bag would. There's this guy in there too. The lady running the place is nice as well. She's like talking about how her husband is like met this famous guy and all this stuff, and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. There's a guy in there called Brody though, and he runs this like kind of weird business thing, like, and he writes for magazines and stuff. The weird way you get introduced to him is very strange. It's like an adult kind of site or something, like, very strange. So that just makes me question the whole thing about the guy. It makes you, I think it's meant to keep you on edge with the guy initially, and I never really came off edge with the guy until later. Still think he might be kind of weird, but by the end, I kind of have a point about that, why I think he maybe is just a good guy. Yeah, he says he like writes for magazines and stuff too, and does all of this stuff, and he's like a political protester and all this stuff. He just kind of lives the lifestyle on the road, and that's kind of cool. That's what you guys are doing now. And he's like, yeah, that's kind of. But I kind of like told him like, hey, my dad is like out there waiting for us or whatever, because I didn't want him to think we were on our own, because that would be kind of weird for a stranger to think. Same thing I told the lady. Just because, yeah, I didn't want to really give away that information, obviously, stranger danger and whatnot. So anyway, the only reason he's significant here in a second, so that's kind of why I mentioned that. You talk to him for a bit, and he has this like car that he has all this stuff set up in there and whatever, that you can see outside before you go inside the gas station. But yeah, we bought all of this stuff. And then we go out to the, well, I actually took him outside, and there was a bathroom on the side of there, and we went in, we, like, washed up and stuff, and I'm like, okay, that's probably a good thing. But yeah, you look around a little bit more. There's really not a lot going on there. But we sat at this, like, picnic table and ate our food or whatever, and then this weird older guy comes up, and he starts, like, harassing us or whatever. You have the option to, like, attack him or just flee, or like try to explain yourself to him. And I did that option because after the last time when I attacked somebody, I thought, okay, well, if I try to explain myself this time, maybe that'll go better. It didn't. This guy turns out even fucking worse of a piece of shit racist dude. To be fair, there was an article in the paper about how these kids were wanted for what happened at their house, which wasn't their fault, but the media is probably like spinning it like it is their fault, or they're just like missing, and they want, so there's probably some kind of reward for turning them in, and that's what that guy was trying to get after. But he's still an asshole, and then he chains you up inside of his back room of the gas station there. It turns out he's the husband of the Doris lady or whatever, and he's a really big asshole. He chains you up back there. Your brother gets away somehow, but you're chained up to like a pipe back there. And then when you wake up, that's like when he makes that comment about like, oh, they should build that wall or whatever. And I'm just like, oh my god, why are we bringing this up in Life is Strange? Then there's yet like a little puzzle where you can like look around the room. You try to get free of your restraints and whatnot. And then your little brother's outside, and you tell him like, go get me a tool. You gotta like pry off a thing to be able to like move farther along. Eventually you like get these keys so your little brother can unlock the back door, and then he like goes on ahead out into the store again, and all of a sudden you hear another big boom, and then you like go out there and you can see that his powers must have gotten used again, and he's like, I don't know what happened, and you're like, okay, no. So at that point, you have the option to steal the tent, which was like $70, which I don't know if you reasonably could have gotten that $70 prior to this, or have stolen the tent prior to this. So yeah. But anyway, you have the option. I didn't do it. There's sort of a morality system, as far as I've read about in the game, where if you steal stuff, Daniel is more likely to start stealing stuff because he's following in your influence. And so I said, well, I'm not going to let that happen. I want to keep this kid good. Even though we're on the road and we're running from the cops, we still need to be morally good people. And I think this, honestly, might be like almost a better system than the original game of like your actions had consequences in that game, but they were usually just like little things. This is a system that this is gonna affect this kid for the rest of his goddamn life. Um, so yeah, I don't really know if all of this is gonna have that many consequences, but it's a more in-depth system in that regard. There's points towards things and whatnot. As far as I can tell, towards the kid's morality and if he's more likely to steal stuff and whatnot. And so I've tried to set him on the right path by not stealing anything so far, but it's cost me money. But um, it did kind of work out in the end. So once you get out of the store, you like run into the woods before the guy gets up. You go out into the woods and you see Brody there in his car or whatever, and you're like you're like yelling at him like, dude, this guy's fucking after us. He's an asshole. Like, and Brody's like, just get in. Like, and I'm kind of like, oh, getting in the car with a stranger, huh? But, you know, like, well, we don't want the other guy to get us, so you get in with him, and it ends up being fine. He seems to be a nice guy so far. I like him. He's definitely tried to help a lot, and he's dealing with a lot of stuff himself, but he was there for you. He's kind of a cool dude. I wouldn't be surprised if something weird with him happens later, but for now he's cool, and I want that to kind of be my thought about the guy. So yeah, he drives you off, and then eventually, let me think. Okay, so we find out that when we're in their car driving away, we find out that Daniel stole this puppy that was in there earlier. That's like, oh, free to a good home or whatever. Somebody like abandoned it or something, and he felt really bad about that. And earlier on, the brother's like, yeah, we can't handle a puppy. That's going to be a lot of work and food and all of this. He doesn't say all that, but he just kind of says like, no way, we can't. No, we can't. But Daniel steals the dog, so this is when you find that out. And it's a girl dog, and he names it Mushroom because it looks like a mushroom, I guess. I don't know. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but okay, he's a kid. Whatever. So I just kind of went along with that. I'm like, oh yeah, great name, pal. You know, whatever. It's not really a name, but so yeah. But at some point you stop so that Sean can like go take a piss or something. And this is where you're like right next to Arcadia Bay, overlooking it. And Brody kind of asks, he's like, all right, so what's the deal? Like, I can tell that something's up with you. You know, if you want to talk, no pressure. If not, no big deal. So I told him what happened, and I told him about how the cops fucking killed my dad, basically. And Daniel starts like kind of breaking down. He's been really calm and collected to this point. You can like have a few moments where you're inside of his head where he's just like, oh, what the fuck do I do? But this is like his first like really major breakdown. And he's really opening up to Brody. He's like, I don't know what we can do, and this is really fucked up. And he's like, yeah, I can tell that the kid doesn't know yet. You better tell him as soon as you can. And he's like talking about how it's better on the road and stuff, and you get to see more and all this kind of stuff, and how he left his family. Oh, etc., etc. But he's like, yeah, but what you have, you know, with your brother there, that's the real thing, you know, the real treasure. It was the friends we made along the way, kind of thing. Something to that. Family's good. It was the message there. So like, stick with them. You kind of tell them like, hey, we might try to go back to Mexico. I don't remember what the place is called, but there's like this place that his dad wanted to retire to or whatever. And they were saying like, oh, maybe we need to go, you know, that's a place we could go. And he's like, yeah, cool. Like, that's, you should follow your heart, do that, you know, if that's what you're wanting to do and whatnot. So then, the next scene, he, is like, well, you're in the car again. And he's like, I'll get you guys a room at a motel or something. And so the next scene, you're like out in front of this motel, playing with the dog, and you like throw the stick for the dog to go fetch, and then Daniel throws the stick a little bit, and then Brody's like, yeah, I got you a room, but, I can't really hang out with you guys, and I've got to be on my way, but I got you a room. Here's a new backpack, with a bunch of supplies, and here's $30 that I gave you. And he clarifies later in his letter that that's all he had at the time, and or maybe in general, which is really nice of him. He's a really kind-hearted person in that sense, and the fact that he didn't stay around to do anything weird or violent or anything kind of makes me believe that this isn't a good guy. He went on his way, kind of thing. It paints him in that light. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with him. I want to think that he's a good guy, despite despite how you meet, which is kind of strange. So yeah. And they're all humbled by that he that he did all of this and got them the room and stuff, and he's like, don't worry about it, don't think about refusing it. That's it's not gonna happen. You guys deserve this, kind of thing. Good luck. And then he hugs them both and leaves, and he's on his way. And you can find a letter from him in the room that says how his mom's battling cancer or whatever, and he's got to get over to Utah to go see her or whatnot. So that's pretty cool. Not that his mom has cancer, but that he's going to see her, rather than just abandoning them or leaving or whatever the whole story was with him and his family from earlier. Yeah, and at this point you're in the room. Everything's kind of nice. You plug in your phone finally. It was dead from before, so you couldn't respond to everyone or talk to anybody. But you want to run Daniel a bath, so you go and do that so you can clean up or whatnot, and you make all of that happen. You can sit and watch TV with them for a bit, kind of thing. And once he's finally gone into the bath and done all of that, you go out onto the balcony to get rid of your phone, because Birdie's like, hey, you don't want to be tracked or whatever. So he's like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. So you have the option here to call your friend or not call her. I called her because I read into it a little bit, and apparently it gets really bad for her if you don't call her. She gets severely depressed or whatever. They put her in a clinic or something, which I don't want that fucking shit happening to her. The opposite is that she abuses sleeping pills a little bit, which doesn't sound much better, but it sounds a lot better to her. Mental health is more on track than before, so I'll take that. That sounds like a better option, and she stands up for you later on social media apparently, so that's kind of nice. But yeah, so then you're watching this video of a Christmas thing where you and your dad and Daniel are there, and you're having a good time, and he starts crying or whatever, and at any point during this you can chuck your phone, and I kind of chucked it near the end of that, and then you go back inside, and Daniel's done there, and this is when you decide you've really got to tell him about his dad or whatever, and he's like, you promised to get me a drink or whatever, and I'm like, all right, whatever, fine, I'll go get the drink. So he's like, yeah, okay. So you go outside to get him this drink from the vending machine, and as soon as you put the money in the machine, it's a little devious, by the way, you're stealing my money, you fucking machine and fucking game, the thing I have so little of, you hear another boom. You go back to the room, and the whole room is everything's lifting up again, and you see him watching the TV, and he finds out from a news report that his dad had died, and he gets really angry at you for lying the whole time, and I'm like, yeah, you probably should have told him sooner. I know it's hard, but that's how it goes. But so now you either make a promise, I promise I'll never lie to you again, or I'll try to be more honest. They're both basically similar, but I assume the second option has more negative implications than positive. So yeah, so um, you have a nice moment there. After that, you hug him and say you both, like, he gets really angry, but you get over it in the end. Then you see them on a bus the next day, and they're like going somewhere. I don't know where they're going because that's where the episode ends. But he's like telling him a story, and you can see the little brother like fall asleep or whatever, and then that's kind of it. And then the preview for the next episode is him like testing out his powers or something. So we'll see where that goes. And it seems like it's winter time, so maybe this will be the episode. This is why I kind of implied that it might be where Captain Spirit kind of takes place because it's winter. So it's either going to be episode like 2 or 3. I'm assuming that it's Captain Spirit ties into. But yeah, so that's the episode. So I mean, outside of like the real world political things that happens like 3 times in a thing. Oh yeah, that was what Brody said. Like somewhere on your car trip there is that he's like, yeah, everything's political, Sean, and it's like, oh my god, like you don't have to make everything political now, you know. So it's just little lines like that kind of bother me. I don't know if that's gonna be like a main theme of the game. I kind of hope not, but I try to stay out of that as much as fucking possible because it's just a lot of bullshit, a lot of people fighting and whatnot. So anyway, yeah, I mean that's the episode. Definitely touches on a lot of things. The classic Life is Strange loss, racism, which is a new one. I don't think that ever happened in the previous game. It's kind of an interesting direction to fucking take. Um, yeah, parenting. Now you're the parent. I mean, I don't think that really ever happened in the other Life is Stranges. You were less the parent and more rebelling against your parents most of the time if you're like Chloe or something. Um, but now you're the influence, and that's kind of an interesting concept there. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, I want to see how this morality system kind of plays out with Daniel and all that. But I'm trying to set the best example I can for him. So yeah, and it's just interesting that they're on the road, out there. I mean, I guess that's like I didn't mind the forest part, but there just wasn't a lot going on other than you and Daniel just kind of hanging out, and I get that was kind of the point, but it goes on for a little long, in my opinion. I guess that's fine. I mean, it was fine. The other parts seemed more meaningful, though. I guess just because there was other characters there, there was more stakes to it. It wasn't just kind of a quiet moment, which you need the quiet moments with the other moments. But I'm just saying it was like it felt like it meant more. But like so far, I'm enjoying this, and I think I don't know if it's on the quality of the original game, but there are a lot of different topics on this game that they're kind of going towards, and I think it'll be good. I don't think it'll be like 10 out of 10 good. I think that we're potentially looking at like a 8 or a 9 out of 10 kind of good. But there are a lot of emotional beats that follow that pattern of A Life is Strange. And it's a little too early to judge because we're only on episode 1. There's 5 episodes, so we'll see kind of where things go. Definitely kept me wanting to play the next episode, which I'm going to do right after this, and then record a video that won't go out for like 2 months or something. At least a month and a half, I think, or something. Because I've got like I've got Farewell, or I've got the last episode of Life is Strange. Actually, I've got 2 episodes of Life is Strange Before the Storm, Farewell, Captain Spirit, and then this episode. So that's 5 weeks from now that'll happen from this weekend. I think that's right. Anyway, so yeah, so it'll be a while out that you even see this from when I'm recording it, because I'm trying to just play it all, within a couple of days or weeks, like within a week or so here. Hopefully, I don't want to put it on the back burner for too long. I might take a break before playing True Colors or whatever, but I'll probably play Breath of the Wild and then play True Colors or something. Come down. Oh, I have to get True Colors first as well. But yeah, but I do want to play this until it's kind of over. So yeah, looking forward to it. So anyway, until next time, this has been JZNES and Keep It Classic. Stick around for more reviews, underrated games, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. JZ